G'day everybody, welcome back to the channel. Okay, well today we're going to talk about some testing that I've been running that you guys have been following along with, and that was between the Stack Audio Smoothland Regenerator and the Stack Audio Smoothland Passive Filter. So these are the two components that we've been playing around with, bringing in and bringing out of the system, as well as we've been bringing in and out the Uptone Ether Regen switch. So that's come in and out a couple of times as well, and we've been playing some tracks, those two test tracks that you guys have been listening to. And I've done quite a bit of exhaustive testing with this product, or the combination of this product, and I've come up with some final thoughts on the Smoothland Regenerator. I have lots of notes, so let's go through this and we'll talk a little bit about it. So we go back over the page here. We played the two tracks, and the first time we played the two tracks, we played it. So what I basically did was I started with everything in the system, and then I started removing things. So that's how you were listening to those same tracks. So the signal path, I'll explain that. So down, I have a cable router in a separate room, about 10 meters away from the hi-fi system, because we all know that routers are quite noisy, especially with their Wi-Fi emission of RF and EMI radiation. So that's in another room completely down the back of the house. So I have a Smoothland passive filter. So there's the input and the output, and this thing's non-directional. So it is a passive filter, beautiful piece of kit. So there is one of these down off the supplied small Ethernet lead with the RJ45 end on it. So there's one of those that comes out of the router. Then it goes through a 10-meter Ethernet cable, an insulated twisted pair Ethernet cable off an RJ45 end, which goes into another one of these up here at this end of the house, and comes out of this and goes into the Uptone Ether Regen switch. So we go through that, we come out of that, and we go into the input here of the Smoothland Regenerator. Now this thing is, again, just a myriad of screws in the back of this thing to hold it all together. I'll talk about the construction of this and what it actually is doing in the system after I explain the signal path. So when we come out of the output of this, we then go straight into my Playback Designs MPT8, which is my Rune core, it is my server, and it is the reclocking of that signal after it passes through those processes, and then out of that through an AT&T glass fiber connection into the MPD8, which is the Playback Designs DAC. Right, so that is the signal path, and that's how you heard the first presentation. So with that process that I've just explained, listening to music once I added the Smoothland Regenerator, there was a good feeling around vocal focus when everything was in the system. There was definitely an improvement over what was there prior to the Smoothland Regenerator going into the process. So the first thing we did is we took the filters out. So we took the two Smoothland passive filters out of the system. And I noticed at that point, slightly more focus across the presentation. Really with everything, there was just a little bit more focus when the filters, the passive filters, were out of the system in my setup. Now, one thing needs to be said here. This may well not be the same for you guys. You might find that adding the regenerator with the Smoothland filter is of benefit. I would suggest that if you are going to add the Smoothland Regenerator to your setup, you would put the filter down at your router, and then you would have the Regenerator very close to your server, your streamer. At that point, I think you will find that you'll get the best setup. I have two of the passive filters in my system, generally speaking, one at either end of the 10-meter run, but a lot of you don't have that, or a lot of you are deciding which way you might go between the Regenerator and the filter. So let's go further into how things sounded with the Smoothland Regenerator in place with the Ether Regen switch. So there was more dimensionality when the filters were out of the system. There was just a nicer, blacker background that I noticed with the Regenerator in place with the switch. There was just it was an improvement in my system when I removed the passive filters out of the system. So on the third version of how we heard those songs, so there's a little more emphasis on the top with the switch out of the process. So when we just ran literally a cable from the router all the way up here and went into the input of the Regenerator, and then out of it straight to my MPT8. These were the findings. If I compare the Regen to the Smoothland switches, the Regen was more detailed. So I definitely noticed an improvement using the Smoothland Regenerator over the Smoothland passive filter process. The Smoothland filter, really the emphasis is the fact that this thing gives you a smoother presentation. It takes some of the digital edginess off the presentation when the Smoothland passive filters are in place. But when you put the Smoothland Regenerator in, you are reclocking the signal. You are also adding layers of passive filtering. So you are getting essentially what happens here, as well as a reclocking process that happens with the Regenerator. Hence, it's regenerating the digital signal. So, in saying all of that, the results go like this. I think for sure that the best presentation I had was taking the filters away, the passive filters away, and adding the Regenerator and my switch. What we ended up with was the Smoothland Regenerator and the switch were the best overall. There was a wonderful space around everything with the Regenerator working its magic and reclocking the signal. So what I mean by that is there was air and space that was more in focus with the Regenerator in the path. There was a blacker background. The blackest background I heard was with the Smoothland Regenerator and the Ether Regen switch, both in place. And more dimension. So more depth dimension in the sound stage, which again goes to the passive filtration that this unit is doing, and the reclocking that's going on in here as well. And that was evident. You could hear these are the things that happen when you've got a very clean Ethernet signal being sent to your streamer. These things just sound, there's a veil lifted. And with, as these digital components improve all the time, as we are seeing in the world when we've got companies bringing out adaptations and better versions of what they started with. We are seeing the dimensionality, we are seeing the width in the soundstage, the depth in the soundstage, the realism in the presentation improve all the time. It's a very, very exciting time to be involved in digital audio because it is really, really starting to get somewhere, I'm noticing. So there was slightly more focus around the whole presentation as opposed to any other way I set this this thing up. More detail at the outer edges of the soundstage. So outside the speakers out there, there was more space, more focus in that width of presentation across the soundstage with the Smoothland Regenerator in place and my Uptone Ether Regen switch. Bass was tonally sweeter. I was getting a sweeter, more natural sounding bass in the presentation as well. Soundstage depth and layering are improved, which I've already spoken about. So some of the differences with the filters is it smoothed off the detail slightly. So when these were added in the process, there was just that little bit more smoothing off of things. It's still a wonderful presentation, don't get me wrong, and you may like this in place because of what it's doing to the system, but there was just that little bit more smoothed off presentation when the filter was in place. Mid-range was nice though because of that smoothing of the presentation, that slight smoothing of the presentation. When you hear Smoothland filter, the emphasis should be on the smooth. Now, as I said, it's not dulling everything off by any stretch of the imagination. It really isn't. These things are fantastic, and they represent amazing value for money as a passive filter goes. They really do. They are, right on the money as far as the price benefit analysis. If I compare the Smoothland with the Regenerator, the Smoothland Regenerator, the Regenerator has more detail, more emphasis on leading edges of notes with a sense of rightness across everything. So that's what I noticed when I put the Regenerator in place. That was a real noticeable thing. Smoothland filter, emphasis on the smooth. As I said, it just gives you that smoother, slightly smoother presentation overall. Timing was also better with the Smoothland Regenerator in place, and that makes perfect sense because of its clock. So the clock's going to give you that better sense of timing, that better emphasis on leading edges of notes, then sustain through the note, and then the decay as the note falls away. And all of these things are timing issues. What we're hearing when we don't get those things is we're hearing jitter. We're hearing, and that's that jitter that comes across as phase modulation in the signal. So when that's cleaned up, we really hear what's actually coming through as a digital signal after it's converted. So this is a fantastic product. It really, really does, hit it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. It is essentially the filter on steroids. It's the best way to describe it. It is an evolution for Stack Audio. You can see what they've done. They've started by producing a very, very high quality passive filter for the money that is charged. That is great value for money. And then they've taken it a step further by basically clocking the signal, passive filtering the signal, all in this unit here, all in this, and you can see all of these compartments in here. So the clock is in this section here. So everything is essentially compartmentalized in the setup, the filtering process, the clocking process. There is a really high quality switch mode power supply that comes with that is supplied with this Regenerator as well. And honestly, if I had to compare power supplies in the digital domain, I actually think these days high quality switch mode power supplies have got the edge over linear power supplies. Now that's going to be controversial, but that's how I hear things now. There is a sense of the switch mode power supply is able to create more dynamic transient with the power supply. There is this sense of aliveness with a really high quality switch mode power supply. Stack Audio have gone to the trouble to produce a really high quality switch mode power supply to supply the 5 volt power for the Regenerator. It's the perfect package as far as what this does. And again, Stack Audio keep hitting it out of the park as far as price to performance benefit. This is I think £625. You'll have to work that out in your own country. But as far as digital reclocking and filtering goes, I don't know of if anything else on the market for that matter that would beat this for price performance metrics. So there you go. That's my final thoughts on the Stack Audio Smoothland Regenerator. Again, boys, you've hit it out of the park, as you usually always do. You guys may have a combination between the two of these. If you did already have the Smoothland passive filter and you were considering buying the Regenerator, this would always live as close as possible to your server streamer arrangement. And the filter, if you had the filter in place, I would be placing this as close as possible to your router. But if you don't have any and you're thinking about purchasing something like this, then I think I would be going straight for the Regenerator, because you are getting passive filtering in this unit as well as reclocking and regeneration of the signal. So well done, guys. Once again, it's an absolute thumbs up from me. It is a great product. It is audibly improved my system, and my system is of a fairly high standard. I think it will improve anyone's system that's considering buying something like this. I'm not concerned about people that already have the passive filter. There is a place for this in your system, and a bit of experimentation around the passive filter and the Regenerator would be a good thing. To experiment with where best placed. But I think in my system, and I think the way this process works, this up near your streamer, this near your router, and then I think you're probably going to have that perfect setup. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little listening tests we did with this. And if you're enjoying this, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really pushes it out to people and has people, you know, understanding exactly my thoughts on these new digital processes that are out and always improving at the moment, which is very exciting. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. It helps me greatly and it costs you nothing. So that's all I ask you to do. I know a lot of you are watching that are unsubscribed. All I'm asking you to do is I put a lot of work into this. I just want your subscription. I want your loyalty. I want to know that you're liking what I'm doing by thumbsing up these videos and by your subscriptions going up on my channel. If I see that, then it motivates me to keep going and doing more of this sort of stuff. I love doing this for you. I love building this community around an Aussie audiophile. I intend to keep doing it. I intend to keep giving you more content and bigger and better products as we move forward with the channel. So thanks very much for your loyalty. Thanks very much for watching this, and we'll be talking again soon. Bye for now.